Strategist and media commentator Honey Lancaster-James. Lovely to see you, Honey. Firstly, what do you make of the way that this whole affair has been handled?
I think it's been handled as sensitively as you can under these circumstances. Lots of people, I think, need to remember that there's a very large crew on a show like Love Island, all of whom would have known Caroline well, will be mourning her loss and will be grieving. And yet they've taken a small break. They've respected the family, I think, as best as they could. And then they've had to go back to work because, unfortunately, the show must go on.
There'll be a lot of pressure now on the producers to make sure that everybody involved in this show is given the support that they need.
Well, yes, pressure, but I think also they will want to do that. I mean, my understanding, and certainly working in this industry, is that all the main channels, all the main production companies do want to safeguard the well-being of their employees, their crew, but also their talent, their on-screen talent. It's not always clear to them how best to do that, and I think there are some great improvements that can be made across the industry to both educate as to what kind of services need to be in place, but also better joined-up provision of those services, and that's certainly something that I've been campaigning to do.
Like what, for example? Can you give us any details?
Yeah, so one of the things, I run a company called Onset Welfare, and one of the things we're actually teaming up with some I don't know if I'm allowed to say, but a university, let's say, and we are putting in place an academic programme to educate and train in contributor welfare and all the different aspects that you need to think about if you're putting someone on TV. So I think there are improvements that can be made in education. But then in terms of service provision, one of the things we do, we work in a multidisciplinary team. So we don't just have one psychologist who is attached to a show or one mental health professional who is there to look after everybody. We have a whole back office of teams of different professionals with different specialisms so that we can discuss cases as they arise, and we've always got someone on hand to handle a very, very difficult crisis.
Do you think this is a wake-up moment for the TV industry? Because there's always a danger that we are talking about it now, but after a few weeks, this story will move away, the news agenda will change, and we're talking about something else.
Yes, I really don't want that to happen, and it's something that I've been trying to get people to, on the back of this really, to say, look, we really need to think about what is happening to our public figures. I sort of make the analogy that, you know, if I make my living selling my image, if I was a model or an actor, if I make my living selling my personality or my ability to speak, why is it okay for someone to come along and take my image, take my words and make money off of that without my permission and without me agreeing to the sale of that? And I don't think that's right. You wouldn't do that if someone produced music. You wouldn't say, well, because you've published some music, we're going to come into your studio and take everything else that you've got. And I think this is really time to change the way we use our clicks online, but also how we protect people.
I was going to ask you about that just very briefly. I mean, what do you think of the role of social media? Because on the one hand, many of these high-profile TV personalities, they use it in their favour. You know, they get their likes and they, in many ways, like, advertise themselves and promote themselves. But it can be quite a nasty place as well.
Very much so. Social media is still in its infancy. I think it needs better regulation around what you can and can't do online. I have been trying to campaign for a kind of blue tick revolution. Let's have everybody verified on these platforms. It doesn't mean you can't still be anonymous. You could be verified, you know, I don't know, pink cat or whatever, but at least the platform would know who you are. So that means that your behaviour would be in some way accountable to you. And I think we definitely need more accountability, but also we need to take personal responsibility. When we click on something, when we view it, we are asking for more of that content to be made. And that is something we can all do right now, today. We can think about your clicks are a social currency and you are paying for more of that content to be created. So think about what you click on and what you say online.
Yeah, feed for thought. Honey, really good to see you. Thank you for coming in this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.